right, first I want to talk about yearly costs. So these will be the costs you have every year except this first year. So you can kind of see how this is going to be going forward for you. You'll have chicks, which are about $3 per chick, depending on which hatchery and variety you choose. So we spend about $230 each time we order 75 chicks, which we do twice per season. So we get our chicken feed from a local producer, and it's organic. So we pay about $600 per pallet of feed, which is 20 bags at this specific producer. For the 75 chicks we raise, they use 3 bags or so in the brooder in the first 3 weeks. Then once on pasture, it's a bag every other day for about 3 weeks. And then the final 2 weeks is a bag a day until they're processed at 8 weeks old. So you can expect to use 30 to 32 bags of feed on 75 chicks. Full life from chick to processing day, which comes to about $900 in feed. Also, it depends on how much your chickens have to eat on the field and their foraging tendencies. So that's based on the breed that you choose. The Freedom Ranger type of chicken will take 12 weeks to get processing weight to get processed. But they don't pound down the feed in the same way that those Cornish cross broilers do. So it's comparable, but they do take more feed as they live longer. And then water is really negligible. It depends on your area. We have a well, so we don't even think about this. But those will be your yearly costs. To take this a little bit further, let's talk about feed to meat ratios. So to feed our family, we raise 75 chickens to about 6 pounds each. That's a total of 450 pounds of meat. So if we're spending $900 in feed on raising these chickens, that makes our price per pound $2 a pound. So what? For organic, pasture-raised, small batch, stress-free chicken, I mean, this would be an epic label at the grocery store. We're doing it ourselves, and we're able to eat even better than whatever's available commercially. All right, so your first year is going to be your most expensive year. We're just going to warn you right now, because there's a lot of things you're going to need to get together that you do not have right now. And after this year, again, year after year, it's just chicks, feed, water. So you're going to pay yourself back over the years for these first year costs. A lot of what you'll need to build can be made from things you already have, repurposed, or scrap materials you have lying around. We definitely recommend getting creative to keep your first year costs down. Though if you have the budget and you want to get all the right things, you can go out and buy it all also. There's no rules. There's a bit of a sliding scale to what you absolutely need versus what is extremely useful to have. Versus the full Monty setup, basically that makes you a legit little poultry production. So the next slides will break down what we call the minimalist must-haves, middle of the road, which is more how we do it, and our maximalist stream. We definitely started as minimalists and over the years have gotten to a middle of the road type of production, which of course you also have the option to do. All right, so these are our minimalist must-haves. We really narrowed it down to the things that you absolutely need to do this fast-food poultry production. So this is a really, really simplified list. You can kind of check it out here. Basically, it's bare bones. Field of grass or green covered ground. It doesn't have to necessarily be grass. It could be weeds. Enclosed is a plus. So actually with our chicken yurt, it is super protected and your property doesn't necessarily need to be enclosed. We've done it on completely unenclosed fields before, successfully. You'll need an enclosed space to use as a brooder bedding, flat feeding trays, bell waterers, heat lamps, power strip, a chert, which we'll learn how to build in the future lessons, hanging feeders, 5-gallon buckets with lids, a 55-gallon barrel turned into a field waterer. We'll talk about that later also. You'll need a knife, a cutting space, dedicated large pot to scald your chickens in, a propane tank with an outdoor burner, plastic bags, freezer, garden hose, and extension cord. And that's a lot of these things you probably already have. So it's just look at your list, think about what you need, look around your property, and this could be just buying a couple things, really. Okay, so this is where we're more at, and this is what we'll show you as we go forward, because this is our setup. So we have an enclosed 1/4 acre of grassland. We have our own brooding shed. It's technically our chicken coop that's split into two. We split it into two for the summertime, and in the winter we open it back up for our laying hens to have access to more indoor area. And so, yeah, it has a door, it has a window for ventilation, etc. And then it's the same thing. We have brooder bedding, flat feeding tray, chick bell waterer, heat lamps. We have 2 churts. Actually, we have 3 at this point, but 2 is what you need for the middle of the road. Hanging feeders, 5-gallon buckets, 55-gallon barrels, a pop-up tent, 2 kill cones, dedicated large pot to scald, propane tank, outdoor burner, 1 plucker, 2 shackles, a knife, some coolers, a trash can with drain holes for guts and offals, garden hoses with a sprayer attachment, extension cords, plastic bags, and freezers. And then this is our maximalist dream. So one day we will get to this point. I don't think anybody really starts here, but if you want to, you're welcome to. That'd be an enclosed 1/4 acre or more of grassland with varied grains, cover crop. Well, we actually have cover crop right now. So we have rye and wheat and some oats, alfalfa, all growing out there with our grass and a ton of weeds. You'll need a dedicated brooding shed, outbuilding with operable windows and doors and vents, and you can get as techie here as you want. This year we added a Bluetooth temperature control that also can turn on a little fan and turn off lights from our phone. So it's very exciting for us. It's totally new and we're still definitely figuring it out. And we don't really trust it, so we go check all the time. But you can go really fully automated if you want to make sure that even if you're inside or you leave the house before you turn off the lights and you don't get back in time, you can do it right from your phone. And that stuff's super cool. We're really interested in learning more about that. You'll need you'll need brooder bedding, flat feeding trays, chick bell waterers, heat lamps, churts, hanging feeders, 5-gallon buckets, 55-gallon barrels. And then this is kind of where it gets more maximalist. It'd be 3+ kill cones with a stand to hold them up. A scalder, which is specifically made for scalding poultry to get their feathers off. A plucker, 3 shackles or more, a knife, garden hoses, so one with a sprayer attachment, extension cords, poultry shrink bags, which we don't even have, but it kind of keeps the meat a little fresher because it totally gets the air out of the bag before you freeze it, and freezers. So let's talk about some of these objects that you may never have heard of. So in the brooder, there's only a few new to you things if you're a first-time chicken keeper. So there'll be heat lamps here. This is what heat lamps look like, and with the red bulbs. We do recommend getting the heat lamps with this big metal cover, so that way the heat is directed down towards the chicks. The 5-quart poultry drinker here, the waterer. We recommend getting the red base also because red attracts chicks. So it'll be easier for them to find water. Here's some bedding. Simple like this. Not wood chips. It's fine shavings. Not sawdust. It's fine shavings. So again, if you can't source something like this that you just get from the store, it's really not expensive. You can go to a sawmill, or if you have your own wood shavings from your own projects, just make sure to really investigate to make sure it's fine shavings, not sawdust, not wood chips. It's really in between the two. And it's important that it's, of that consistency because otherwise you can have problems in the brooder. And then the feeding tray. The tray can be anything. This is like a old school, hot food lunch tray. And it's just flat, and anything flat and usable you have around. The lip around the edge, that helps to keep the feed in, though. So that's important. So on the pasture, the birds need very little, since they have all the grass to stay busy with. This is exactly the hanging feeder we use here. And each chert needs one of those. And the 55-gallon drum is cut to make a field waterer. So we'll explain that in later lessons. But this is just to orient you to what to expect and what we'll be talking about. So the sooner you can source some of these things in your area, the more prepared you'll be going forward. And our beautiful chicken yurt here, we call it chert because it's fun. We have all the plans and instructions on how to build yours in a future lesson, and we promise anyone can build it or have it built with our detailed plans. You'll be able to download and print those out and take them right to the welder or right to the hardware store with you to get everything you need. So these supplies here are likely all new to you. So let's talk about them in depth here. You'll need a knife or knives, depending on how many people you'll have working together to do this. The main thing is they're thin, long, and sharp. That's your requirements for a knife. So you probably have one around. It's paring knife or boning knife, fillet knife, the different names that you can find them as. We have 2 of these knives that are just extra long, so we keep them for processing separate from, our kitchen knives. But you could definitely use a kitchen knife if you have one of these that looks, like this, like one of these here, in your kitchen already. You'll need a dedicated pot for scalding your chickens. Something like this, something large that could fit a full chicken in it, or 2, depending on how quickly you can pick up processing. As long as it can fit at least 1 chicken in it submerged in water, that's the requirement. So a large pot and a propane burner, something like this, or if you have a grill that has a burner or whatever, some outdoor burner you need. I like this square one because it has a nice firm square base. So if you put a circular pot on it, it keeps it kind of safer from tipping. And then also our next upgrade would definitely be, like we said, a scalder. It's not required your first year, your first time, you're just getting into this. But this is specifically made for scalding chickens. So you can put multiple in there at a time and it spins, through the hot water. And it keeps temp perfectly and all these things. So that would be our next upgrade. And over here we have the kill cones. So this is what they look like. You can do them. You can build them up onto a stand, or they come with a stand of their own, depending on how you purchase. Or people do it like this. They put them on a tree, it's like they usually have a hole here. You can just nail it to anything. And a tree works great too. That's a smart idea. We bought our kill cones when we got our plucker, which is this here. It looks like that with all those little fingers in there to help pull off the feathers. This piece of equipment saves so much time compared to hand plucking. So if you can find a plucker, if you can buy one, great. If you can find one to rent out or borrow in your area for your processing day, I highly recommend at least trying to source one, especially if you plan to process by yourself or just, you and your partner or you and your, family. The more adult hands you have helping you, the easier it'll be for plucking. Yeah, you can see how it's designed here. It actually spins and tumbles and the water comes in. So it really is brilliantly designed to quickly, efficiently pluck chickens. So that is a huge time saver. Again, if you can find one, rent one in your area. Look on Craigslist, look on Facebook, maybe your farm and garden groups in your area. Join those and ask, hey, does anybody have a plucker I can borrow or rent? That is a huge time saver, and I highly recommend that. And then over here we have, a sprayer. You probably have one of these. It's nice to have when you're cleaning out like the insides here, cleaning out the chickens, spraying them down. It's just nice to have a little control on there. So here is the shackle. Looks like this. You can see Cameron using it over here. Basically, the feet, that chicken's feet go in here. Its head comes up, so it's kind of folded in half, which allows you to be able to open up, their chest cavity, their get their innards out, without having to hold the chicken itself. So these are amazing. They're definitely more like, they kind of seem like more commercial chicken processing item, but I think even just having one or two of these is super helpful. Because again, look at Cameron has both his hands. He can get in there and get all the guts out, and then he can, use his hands to spray inside, to pull apart the gizzard and the heart and the lung and the liver. And he has his hands. He doesn't have to keep one hand on the chicken while trying to do this one-handedly, which is the disadvantage of doing it on a flat surface, which I'm sure you've seen online. Joel Salatin style. It's like just got the chickens on the table. It's all outside and flat. We like this hanging part of it. It really does speed up things. We really do love this piece of equipment and highly recommend it if you can add that to your setup. And again, usually companies will sell things like in a bundle. So it'll have a shackle, it'll have a cone, and it'll have a pot or something for scalding. There's these little small scale setups, and I'll put some of those links in the in the notes below this video, and you can check that out. All right, so that's it for this general overview of supplies and equipment. Don't worry about going out and getting everything right now. We'll be talking about all these things again and again as we move through the course. So as you learn about brooding, you'll be able to look around your property and see what you have. And maybe you can reuse this or that for this part of the process. And then you'll make your list for heading to the store after that. So let's just kind of sequentially do this, but this was an overview just to give you an idea of what to expect that you will have to source in your area. And also, you have to kind of decide where to put yourself on the scale from minimalist to maximalist. All right, below this video, there's some links in the note, and feel free to check out some of those links that are to the items I've talked about here. Depending on your location, some of these items maybe you'll have to order online or drive a little further to get. So a little research is probably going to be worth your time, just at this point when you're in the plot section of our course. So you're plotting.